Hello and welcome to today's video, and today I'm going to be counting down my top 10 personal best rides at Thorpe Park. Now if you want to find out what my number one ride is at the entire park, then watch this video until the end. But now without further delay, let's get straight on with the video, starting at number 10. So at number 10 we have Rush, located in the Lost City area of the park. Now Rush is an S&S screaming swing that first opened in 2005 and was one of two flat rides to open at Thorpe Park that year, with the other one being Slammer, which unfortunately no longer operates. Now Rush, it's actually a pretty fun ride experience. It might look quite basic with being mainly just a back and forth swing type attraction, but like the amount of speeds that you get on the actual ride experience itself and the forces that you feel is actually really fun. Plus the height you get on there as well, because it's actually rather high up there. The only problem with this ride that I really have is how short it is. It's literally like the whole duration of the ride is about 30, maybe 45 seconds long. So it's literally done in like over a minute, which you wouldn't really expect on flat rides. You could expect it to maybe like 2 minutes long at minimum. But yeah, Rush is number 10, and now on to number 9. So at number 9 we have Vortex, which is also located in Lost City. And this ride is actually relocated quite close to Rush, and it is a KMG afterburner that first opened in 2001, was one of 3 flat rides to open that year, with the other 2 being Zodiac and Detonator. And of this ride experience, I enjoy this more than Rush, mainly because it has a longer ride experience, plus it's actually, even though it looks like it's very similar, like the swinging motion, it's also a different experience with the fact that you're also spinning at the same time. So that adds more thrill to it. There's more like forces felt in it. Plus, like I mentioned, it's a longer ride experience. So you actually, if you're queuing a while for it, then you'll get that. You'll probably get like, it'll be worth it, because the ride is actually quite a decent duration. So that's probably why I prefer Vortex over Rush. So at number 8 we have the first roller coaster on this list, and that is Soar the Ride, located in the Old Town area of the park. Now Soar the Ride is a Gerstlauer Eurofighter that first opened in 2009, and what makes it different from most of the other attractions, it's themed around the Saw movies, like the Saw horror films, and the theming around this ride is actually brilliant. Like, I think especially inside like the station interior building, like, 'cause it's got loads of different like saw traps scattered all around like the inside of the building and around the ride area. And the ride experience itself, I mean, apart from the layout's good, but like I think the reason why I ranked it quite low is because of how rough the ride is. Like literally everything after that, beyond vertical drop, you're literally just shaking your head all around the entire attraction. So that kind of takes away from the experience, but if it weren't so rough, then it'll probably be higher on the list. So at number 7 we have Tidal Wave, located in the Amity Cove area of the park. Now Tidal Wave is a Hopkins shoot-the-chutes water ride that first opened in the year 2000 and took the record of the tallest water ride in Europe. Obviously that record has been taken since then, but it was the tallest at the time. And this ride is famous for one specific reason: the large drop, which creates that huge splashdown section, which actually does get you soaked on it. Like, fun fact, did you know that Tidal Wave, the splash that it creates drops the equivalent, I think it's about 2.5 bathtubs worth of water, so that you get absolutely drenched on this ride. Like, it is insane. So like, this ride is actually really great to go on like during the summer months when it's like really hot and humid, because you can get soaked off on this, and it's actually a really nice experience. Like, but overall, Tidal Wave is a fantastic ride and also one of the more iconic attractions at Thorpe Park, and I'm glad they have it. So at number 7 we have Detonator, which is located in the Big Easy Boulevard area of the park. Now Detonator is a Fabry mega drop tower that first opened in 2001, and honestly I think this has got to be the best flat ride in the whole park. Now, with it being a drop tower, it takes you up to the maximum height of 115 feet. It holds you there for a pretty brief but long it feels like you're up there for ages. And then it drops you at a speed of, I think, about 45 miles per hour. And the force of that drop, especially when you're braking, is mental. Now, this ride is actually probably one of the best experiences at Thorpe Park. definitely the best flat rides. And honestly, the anticipation when you're actually at the top waiting to be released is like nothing else at Thorpe Park or anything else in the UK. And when you drop, it's actually amazing. So we have now reached the top 5, and at number 5 we have Colossus, located in the Lost City area. Now, Colossus is an Intamin multi-inversion coaster that first opened in 2002, and it is the first major thrill coaster to be built at the park and is still operating to this day. Now, this ride, upon opening, it also had the world record for most inversions on a roller coaster, with a total of 10 inversions. And each one of those inversions is pretty good. I think my favourite inversions on the ride have got to be probably the vertical loop or the cobra roll. Now, the overall general landscaping of the area is pretty good. I think my only complaint with this ride is slightly rough, but I think with Colossus it depends where you sit. So if you sit towards the front of the train, it's not so bad, but if you sit towards the back, then the roughness is pretty bad. But overall, it's a pretty enjoyable experience. So at number 4 we have Nemesis Inferno, located in the jungle area at Thorpe Park. Now, this is a B&M inverted roller coaster that first opened in 2003, and I must say it is one of the best roller coasters in the park. It's different from many of the other rides with it being an inverted coaster, and as you can imagine by the name, it was originally intended as a sequel to Nemesis at Alton Towers. Now, it's a great ride. It's got some very intense forces throughout, especially on the inversions with the vertical loop, the zero-G roll, and the UK's only interlocking corkscrews, which is a pretty cool element. Only thing being, it's not as good as the original Nemesis, but it's still a great ride nonetheless, and I really enjoyed it. But yeah, in terms of the theming, it's mainly just got some trees and plants and some water elements, but it's got some pretty nice landscaping. And overall, Nemesis Inferno is a pretty good ride, and one of the best of the park. So at number 3 we have Stealth, located in the Amity Cove area. Now, Stealth is an Intamin accelerator coaster that first opened in 2006 and took the title of the UK's fastest roller coaster, and it kept that record up until 2024. Now, Stealth, it reaches a top speed of 80 miles an hour and a maximum height of 205 feet. Now, Stealth, as you can see from this footage, it has a very short layout. Its ride duration is 10 seconds, with most of the ride being spent travelling up and down that top hat. But honestly, that launch is probably one of the best launches I've ever experienced. Going up the top hat, seeing the view of the park, and then plummeting right back down is just insane. It's you're literally up to that height and then back down in a matter of seconds, and it's such an unreal experience, and I love it so much. Probably one of the best launch coasters I've ever been on as well. It's such a great ride. So at number 2 we have the Swarm, located in the Swarm Island area. Now, the Swarm is a B&M wing coaster, first opened in 2012, and it is the first ever wing coaster to feature that iconic dive drop where it twists 180 degrees and comes back in on itself, basically back underneath the lift hill, and it's actually kind of a terrifying element, especially when you look at it off ride and you think, oh my word, that is crazy. Now, the whole ride experience of the Swarm is absolutely amazing. It is an awesome experience. With it being a wing coaster, it means you're fixed on either side of the track, so you've not got anything above or below you. It honestly feels like you're just so free on the attraction. And the intensity of the ride as well in some parts is insane. Not to mention, there's also the theming as well. The theming around this whole area is actually, honestly, the theming is, there's so much detail in the theming, especially with some of the set pieces like the billboard you fly through, the helicopter that you fly past, the near misses with the church building, which is also the ride station. It is honestly such a cool experience, and I'm so glad that they actually built this ride with all the layout it has and the theming it has. So yeah, the Swarm is number 2, and before we get to number 1, if you haven't already, then please make sure to like and subscribe. And now, finally, on to number 1. So finally, at number 1, we have Hyperia, located in the Fearless Valley area of the park. Now, Hyperia is a new for 2024 Mack Rides hypercoaster, and honestly, where do I even begin with this ride? there are so many things about it they got so right that honestly, it is not only the best coaster at Thorpe Park, the best ride at Thorpe Park, but it's also the best coaster that I personally have ever been on. The layout of this thing is so unique compared to any other hypercoaster, and it is just so intense and so bonkers. Like, it starts out with that insane 180-degree twisting, like, vertical drop, which is honestly one of the best drops, probably the best drop I've ever experienced. Like, that drop is crazy, going off that 236-foot tall lift hill. And I know, honestly, every element in this ride, it just packs such a punch. It is honestly, it is such an unreal experience. Like, I know people like sort of like give it slack about how like the duration of it, they're thinking it's too short. But personally, when you're on there, it doesn't feel that short. At least when you're on there, it feels like a sort of normal like length for a roller coaster. Literally the only thing I could think about that could possibly improve with this ride is the level of theming, because it hasn't got much theming. But I do genuinely think that the whole layout of it and everything, like the layout, like, and just general atmosphere of that whole area makes up for it. And so yeah, that is why Hyperia is my #1 ride at Thorpe Park and my #1 coaster. So that is it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you did, then please make sure to like and subscribe, and comment what you would like to see in the next video. Goodbye.